Hello, and welcome back to Elden Ring. This is, I believe, part 33 of our initial run through the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. Last time, we started off at the Woodland Trail. We made our way southeast, making it to the abandoned church, getting the final map fragment for the DLC, and we went over to Midra's Manse, getting the three sites of grace there and stopping before the boss. Now you might be wondering why I'm so far away. I mean, I should also state that we also got this Frenzy Flame Torch, which looks very cool. But still, you might be wondering why I'm so far away here at the storehouse first room of the Shadow Keep. And the reason is because if you head over here, I kept looking at a bookcase that was here. As you can see, it's not here anymore. And you might be thinking to yourself, so this is what this is about, right? No. I mean, kind of, but I was looking at this, and I don't remember if I mentioned it my first time going through, but I definitely mentioned it, at least to myself, like going through with helping other people. And I was going, I swear there's an area back there, because the rest of these bookshelves are, like, you can't see anything through these. Whereas on this one, you could kind of see through the side. And I was going here to level up, just to kill the enemies. I wasn't here for that whatsoever. But I was going through, I was killing enemies. And when I made it to here, there was an enemy over there who kept shooting me. So I pulled this out, shot him with that, and he fell over, and I looked down, and I noticed there was a little purple glowy. So I jumped down, realizing that I hadn't been here before, and then I looked around and saw that this was the bookcase. And I pulled this lever, and it opened this up. Now, for that purple item that was right here, you might be wondering what that was. That was the Bolt Drake Talisman +3 for the utmost lightning damage negation. As you can see, they have the same thing. Which, if we throw, like, if we have nothing on, our lightning damage negation is at 57.7. Throwing on 0.2 brings us up to 66.1. So from 66.16, I think it was, we now will go up to 67. Yeah, 66.16 to 67. So that brings us up 0.84. A massive difference, as you can very clearly see. I don't know if I... Nope. Well, that is quite unfortunate. I was kind of hoping I had enough to level up. Sadly, do not. Oh yeah, there's you. We're just going to quickly level up before heading into what I'm assuming is a boss. That means killing a few enemies. And so, enough for a level. Level up, we can just throw into Dex because I'm getting that to 50. And to the second floor chamber of the Midra area. And I was kind of expecting to stop. Like, stop playing for the day. Because that's how I've been doing this, is I do 2 parts. And then I upload 2 parts. And then I play for 2 parts, and I upload for 2 parts. But not today. Also, Taker's cameo is not useful for a boss. So we can move this to boost non-physical damage by the utmost, because I don't know what he's going to throw at us. 2 HP per second, not useful. So we can greatly boost HP restoration from Flaccid Crimson Tears. And 2-handed, probably useful, but we can move over to greatly raise his stamina recovery speed. And we can pop this, and I am nervous, but...
The depths of your foolishness!
I thought that we were gonna get a cutscene. Oh, boss bug. Oh, there's a cutscene. So, we can watch this without me talking.
Enough. I have endured more than enough. I ask you forgive me, dearest Nanaya.
I don't think I want to be here anymore. Whoa! Also, Frenzy. Also, classic Elden Ring timings. Where they're deliberately done to mess with you. Yep. Like I said, that's something that Elden Ring does a lot. Is they purposely have the most off-kilter, just strange timings, just to throw you off as much as humanly possible. And I've mentioned it once, I've probably mentioned it a few times, I'll say it again. I like when that's done, but as a character-specific thing. Like, when Morgott does it, I like it because he's deliberately going out and hunting Tarnished. And so he's purposely trying to stop you, and he's going out of his way to stop people. And so it makes sense that because he's going out of his way to hunt Tarnished, and because he's hunting a lot of Tarnished, it makes sense that he'd be very off-kilter to throw people off. That does fire, so we can move to that. And we should probably move over to this for so we get frenzied less. Focus 22 to 42, yeah. 10 to 18, 8 to 14, 15 to 26. This should be good. Yeah, like I said, I like it as a character-specific thing. But this guy isn't going out of his way to throw people off. Like, he's not going out of his way to hunt people. Or any of that Morgott has. And I think Elden Ring does it just a bit too much. Because if it's like 10, 20% of the major bosses, then that's fine, but most of the major bosses do it. And a lot of the enemies do it too.
The depths of your foolish...
And like I said, it just gets a bit tiring. Nice. Especially with... I didn't mean to do that. Okay. Especially with how they have super delayed attacks that have super fast attacks that can come out very quickly after, and how they can have large gap closing attacks as well. It can just all add up to be very tiring. Especially if they're going to have magic. And not just any magic. Well, magic, but not just magic, but also have a status effect. But not one of the smaller status effects like poison. It's a big one in Madness, which takes half your health and half your FP. And it has like a long stun animation. Like I said, all those things in combination, they can just tire you out.
Depths of your...
Oh. Good. We're learning them. It's not... I was about to say, I'm kind of hoping to stance break him, but it's not working. Well, that came out a bit faster than expected. Oh. Yeah, like I said, the combos mixed with hyper delayed attacks, mixed with hyper fast attacks, mixed with gap closing attacks, mixed with fire damage, mixed with frenzy, because that final attack, because of frenzy, took us from over half to dead in a single hit.
The depths of your...
So, we're learning them, but like I said, all the things in combination can just... Ugh. Especially the delayed attacks and hyper fast attacks. You can learn them, but it's just tiring. When so many bosses are doing the same thing. We were almost full health, and then it was just boom, dead. Like I said, if you have like half these things, it's perfectly fine, no problem whatsoever. It's just when you have all of these things in combination, especially with how the off-kilter attacks mixed with hyper-fast attacks is done a lot in this game. It just grates on you, and it gets tiring. Even though even though you can learn it, it still gets tiring. I cannot figure out the dodge timing on that. Oh. Nope. Nope. Stance break. Good. Man, you have a decent bit of health. I did not think you were gonna do it 5 times. Okay. Oh. Okay. Kinda hoping you don't have... Mistake. Kinda hoping you don't have a second health bar. Ooh. Alright, no, you don't. Good, 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 good. 410,000 runes. And I took a sip at the very end there after he died, but that final attempt only took 3 sips of the Estus. Cool. Alright. Yeah. See, Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman, Flame Drake Talisman +3 for enormous physical damage negation and utmost fire damage negation. Along with the Clarifying Horn Charm +2 for vastly raised focus. Along with 19 Erdtree Blessings. And half the Beast Champion set, half the Oath Sacred Knight set. And there were still some points where he didn't one-shot us, but it was real close. Where in the span of like half a second, he took 70% of our health bar. So, like I said before, just... It feels like... I mentioned it before, I'll mention it again. It feels like the basic enemies in the area are very undertuned. They're way too easy. Like, way too easy. But then you get to the bosses and it feels like the bosses are a bit overtuned. And this boss, I would say he's, out of all the bosses that I've brought up, them being overtuned, like out of that entire group of bosses, I would say this is the least overtuned of those bosses. Because, like I said, the like hyper delayed attacks followed by extremely fast attacks, like I said, those can be learned. It just gets grating after a while, and Elden Ring does it way more than any other game, and Elden Ring also has way more bosses, and so the combination of those two things makes it really get tiring after a bit. But it can still be learned, and I think this boss actually did it very well. Again, it just gets tiring once it's done so often. And they were well designed. I'm not a personal fan of Frenzied Flame stuff, but he was well designed. And like, the fight was good. My only complaint about the boss is really just the combination of everything. Whereas, like, the madness, the hyper delayed attacks mixed with the hyper fast attacks, the gap closing attacks, the fact that he has 2 damage types, which means you have to worry about negating 2 damage types. He also has magic, which means he has melee and ranged. He has gap closing attacks. And he has a status effect. And it's not just any status effect. It's madness. If it was poison, perfectly fine. No problem whatsoever. Rot, you can deal with it. Blood loss and frost, you can kind of deal with it. Sleep, you can deal with it again, but... And, I mean, even Deathblade you can deal with. But madness is the most dangerous one. because it takes half your health and puts you into a pretty long animation. At least pretty long when you're in the middle of a fight. And so, because of all those things in combination, like I said, just the tiniest bit overtuned, it seemed like to me, with the main one being Madness. But Madness is pretty unique to this boss, because most bosses don't have Madness. So for that, I would say they could have either tuned it down a little bit, because I have the Clarifying Horn Charm +2, plus half of the Beast Champion set for increased focus. It's almost certainly not the best armor set for focus. Like, this has 42. This has 55. It's also very weighty. This has 99. Ooh. This has 14. This has 33. This has 26. This is 61. This says 18. This says 42. So the Armor of Solitude, probably the way to go for that. Because, yeah, that's a decent bar. And then you can throw in the modeled one as well. Yeah, so that puts the bar pretty high. But that would mean 1 to 2 talismans just for that. And you would probably need to throw on almost, yeah, like, look, even Great Jar's Arsenal isn't enough for that. Which I get that I have a Great Axe and a Great Shield, but still, that's to say, you would need to invest a lot into that. And that means probably not investing into the physical damage negation or fire damage negation or non-physical damage negation. Though outside of Frenzy, his damage wasn't that bad. Like I said, I beat him, only needed to take 3 sips of the Flask of Crimson Tears. So that could be a, like, misstep on my part of I didn't spend enough time looking through the armor. That could absolutely be it. But still, like I said, just the combination of everything. And I'd say that I feel like if they lowered the madness buildup just a little bit, or if they gave him like a different version of madness, they gave a shorter like animation where you grab your face and you're like, ah, no, my eyes, and had it do less damage, because losing half your health and being stuck in that animation in the middle of a boss fight with a boss that has ranged magic attacks, like ranged incantations, and gap closing attacks, and some pretty fast attacks, all those things in combination means that if you get hit with madness, you're dead. Like, pure and simple, you're dead. And he had some like big frenzy explosion attacks that obviously I have yet to learn how to dodge properly. So I would say if they gave him like a different version of frenzy that took like a smaller chunk of your health bar, maybe like 25%, and gave you a shorter animation, or just had less buildup, or if you could stance break him, that's what it's called. If you could stance break him more often to give your bar some time to go down, or gave him like a longer recovery animation so that way you could pop one of the bullets, because I really don't use these things, which is, that would certainly make the fight more difficult for myself. Like I said, just, he felt very, very slightly, the tiniest bit overtuned because of that combination. But overall, he was a pretty good boss. So, I don't think I've been talking about the areas too much. But this area, I think I'm going to be ever so slightly generous and say A tier. At least in level design. The enemies not so much, because it's just basic rats and basic shadow guys and basic the guys who shoot these. So the enemy's not that good, but the horned warriors and the big guy, very good enemies. The level design, the visual design, the ambience, like the vibe that this area brings is incredible. So I'll say A tier. And the boss, the presentation of having him be like a basic enemy and then getting a cutscene after you kill him as a basic enemy, and ignoring the he can borderline one-shot you thanks to Frenzy, ignoring that, he was a super, super solid fight. And so I'm going to go ahead and say A tier. Like, I know that I spent a decent bit of time giving criticism because of that whole combination of things, of super slow delayed attacks followed by hyper fast attacks, having two different damage types, yada 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 yada. I know that I spent a decent bit of time on that, but like I said, he was a really solid boss. He was actually very enjoyable outside of Frenzy. But Frenzy is what makes him unique. And even though the hyper delayed attacks followed by hyper fast attacks has been pretty grating on me, because it's done so often in this game and because this game is way bigger than the others, but this boss made it pretty enjoyable because he had a very nice flow once you figured it out. And it felt very nice. Like I said, Frenzy didn't feel nice. Going from 70 HP to, or 70% HP to 0% HP in half a second didn't feel nice. But besides that, he felt very nice. The presentation was incredible. It was a pretty solid fight. He made the delayed attacks actually enjoyable. And so I'll go ahead and give him an A tier. He was very enjoyable. Well, with that being said, we can read the description. We can start at as the golden. So, as the golden barbs inflicted eternal agony upon him, Midra held fast to Nanaya's entreaty. Endure. The word was a curse. And we can head back to the round table hold and see what rewards we can get from that. Hello.
Don't see.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything here? Doesn't look like it. But what about here? Also, I don't know if I mentioned it. I probably have. Never mind, that was just... Great sword. I keep talking about how the great swords are the best. And we could get a great sword. And also, I ignore the 45 faith. I don't do incantations that much. We do have enough faith to use it, but... Great sword. That looks very tasty. But the great sword of damnation. It is a great sword. It scales off strength and faith, tiny bit into dex. Does physical and holy damage. I don't know why it does holy damage. Why does everything do holy damage? Like, a lot of people hate on holy damage. I don't. I understand that it's the worst damage type, but people pretend like it's this unusable, horrid, active detriment to you damage type. But it really not. Like, it's fine. It's not as good as physical or magic or fire or lightning, but it's fine. But Elden Ring has so many weapons that do physical and holy damage, and I don't understand why. Like, there's too many. There's too many. I'd rather do pure physical or physical and fire because he was very fire-based. And I know that's because of the incantations, but still. But physical holy damage. Golden greatsword that once pierced the body of Midra, master of the Manse. Used by the Hornsent in the execution of a damnation like no other. The barbs that pierce the victim from within wind gently around the blade, and it holds the unique skill of Golden Crux. Leap up and skewer foe from overhead. If successful, weapon's barbs unfold to excruciate from within. Else, additional input releases barbs in the area. There's something of the Golden Order in the sight of those fixed upon this crux. Don't know what any of that means, but cool. And then Midra's Flame of Frenzy. It requires 41 faith and takes 22 FP, and then there's a 5 in the parentheses. Summons Lord of Frenzy Flame's head to spew frenzied flame. Incantation in praise of Midra, Lord of Frenzied Flame, summons an apparition of the Lord's head to spew frenzied flame. This incantation can be used while in motion. The apparition will remain for as long as the input is held. The Lord of Frenzied Flame shall take their torment, despair, their affliction, every sin, every curse, all melted away. Yet Midra, like others before him, was too weak to become a lord. So I'm going to go with this, but if we find one of those things that allows us to duplicate the soul, then I'd be willing to do that. But we can teleport here and we can look at the weapon real quick. So this is what it looks like. I like this bottom half of it. The top half looks a little too thin. Kind of looks weird. It has almost pixel perfect range with the blasphemous blade. And is ever so slightly, or has ever so slightly more range than the Greatsword of Solitude. And let's see, the R1 combo, the heavy combo, the charged heavy combo, the pokes are kind of nice. Backstep, roll, running light, running heavy, jumping light, jumping heavy, and then two-handed, the light combo, the heavy combo, the charged heavy combo, backstep, roll. Backstep one looks pretty cool. Makes a nice sound. The roll one being a poke, I like more than the overhead slam. Because the overhead slam seems very forehead. Whereas this feels like it has a bit more grace to it. Which, forehead tactic does mesh very well with me and how I play, but still. But jumping light, jumping heavy. The jumping light looks very nice. Then running light and running heavy. And then finally tapping. So that was tapping. And then that's the follow-up. So you can jump, stab, and then whoosh. And then if you have no FP, so you can actually still do this. It just doesn't do as much damage, I would assume. Cool. But that looks like everything here. I don't think I've gone there before. The game wouldn't put a third illusory wall here, would they? Nah. Because this area has already had 2 illusory walls. Light. I'm gonna jump down here and see if this guy has anything new to say now that this guy's dead. Oh, he was despawned, so I thought he just left for a moment. Yeah, well, I mean, I did succumb a few times, but eventually we got him. Actually, how many times did we die to the boss? I think like 4 or 5 times. Still. 43 minutes in. So I was correct in what I said last time of I don't want, like, we're already an hour in, I don't want to head into the boss already an hour in and have them be difficult and then have that take a decent bit and then have my thoughts take a decent bit. Still don't know what you guys are about. It feels like it's a thing of like you're supposed to do some kind of gesture here. But I don't know if that's true or if there is a gesture, what it is or what. Also, at least looking on the map, it kind of seems like we can go here. But I don't see a way in or out of the building. We also can't ride Torrent, which is tragic. Because this place does have a lot of running. Like I said, you don't notice it in the buildings because those places are dense and have lots of shortcuts and whatnots. But outside in these open world sections, it is very noticeable. But with that being said, we beat the boss. All that's left in the DLC that I absolutely know of is this area here. The second finger ruins with this green area and this patch. I still don't know how to get there. And I haven't looked anything up so far. I haven't gotten spoilers from any friends so far. I don't know if we've been here either. I don't know. Oh, but before we end it, because just ending while walking through a little side path feels a bit anticlimactic, there was something I found back here at the ancient Rao Ancient Ruins West. So we can go pick the thing I found up. And then we can end it. But it's over here. Like I said, I don't want to look anything up. And I don't want friends to tell me where to go. Because I do really enjoy finding areas by myself. But it's here and you can just run straight across. It's very nice. So, like I said, don't know how to get to this area, but I will look for it. But here, you can get the stone sheathed sword, which is a straight sword, primarily scales off strength and a bit of dex, and it is a sword that none can pull from its scabbard of cracked stone, relic of a lost civilization from a time long past, said to have served a ritual purpose at altars of light and darkness, with the skill square off. And the charge attack is very cool. It's pretty basic, but it feels different than other straight swords. It might just be the sound design. I don't know though, but yeah, that chopping attack looks very cool. That looks pretty cool as well. It's a very basic sword. And as you can see, the weapon has a sheath. You can't see it here, but it's actually on the weapon. And you just can't pull it out, which is pretty cool. Just like, even you, the person who killed God, can't pull the sword out of a rock. And I think that's kind of funny. But with that being said, we can end it here. And I will continue to look for how to get to this location. And if I give up and end up looking it up or asking a friend how to get there, I will admit that. But I really want to find it on my own, because being able to explore and find areas by yourself, it just feels really good. But with that being said, yeah. Wrong thing.